The crystalline throne room of Valerian Prime stretched upward into impossible heights, its walls composed of living glass that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Empress Thalia the Radiant sat upon her seat of power, her 4 arms draped elegantly across the armrests, as she regarded the human standing before her with undisguised amusement. Captain James, Reeve of the United Earth Navy, stood at attention, his uniform still bearing the scorch marks from the battle that had brought him here. His ship had been caught in Valerian territory during a patrol gone wrong, and now he faced the most powerful ruler in this sector of space. "You wish safe passage through my domain," Thalia said, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. "You wish for your crew to return home unharmed. You wish for much human, considering your vessel violated our borders." "It was an accident, Your Majesty," James replied evenly. "Our navigation system malfunctioned." "We mean no disrespect to your empire." The Empress leaned forward, her silver eyes gleaming with something that might have been curiosity or cruelty. "Perhaps both. I have heard tales of your species. They say humans are remarkable survivors, that you come from a death world where everything seeks to end you, yet you persist, that you have a peculiar talent with creatures." James said nothing, waiting. He had learned long ago that silence was often the best response when dealing with powerful aliens who enjoyed the sound of their own voices. "I have a proposition," Thalia continued, rising from her throne with fluid grace. "A wager, if you will. In my menagerie, I possess a creature from the void reaches, an apex predator that has killed 17 of my best handlers. My scientists cannot study it. My warriors cannot approach it. It is beautiful and terrible, and entirely useless to me in its current state." She began to descend the steps toward him, her robes flowing like liquid starlight. "Tame this beast. Make it accept your touch without attempting to end your life. Do this, and I will grant you more than mere passage. I will cede to Earth the entire Valerian system, including this very world. 12 planets, Captain. An empire handed to your species for the price of 1 tamed animal." The other Valerian nobles in the chamber gasped, their translucent faces showing shock. One of her advisors, a tall male named Corvus, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, surely you cannot be serious. The entire system for such a trivial task?" Thalia's laugh was like breaking crystal. "Trivial? Brother, did you forget that this creature killed your own son? Did you forget that our finest minds have declared it untamable?" She turned back to James, her expression almost hungry. "I am entirely serious. Either this human succeeds where we have failed, proving the tales of his species true, or he joins those the beast has already claimed. Either outcome entertains me." James felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his expression neutral. He thought of his crew, 43 souls who depended on him. He thought of Earth, struggling to establish itself among the ancient spacefaring civilizations that looked down upon humanity as newcomers and primitives. 12 planets would change everything. "I accept," he said simply. The Empress clapped her hands together with delight. "Wonderful. You may begin tomorrow. I will enjoy watching this." The night passed slowly in the guest quarters they provided him. James spent the hours reviewing what little information the Valerians would share about the creature. It was called a Ravager, native to a planet that existed in the space between dimensions. 6 limbs, each ending in claws that could tear through reinforced steel. Bioluminescent patterns along its hide that allegedly hypnotized prey. A jaw filled with rows of crystalline teeth. Intelligence estimated to be roughly equivalent to an Earth dolphin. When dawn broke across Valerian Prime, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, James was escorted to the menagerie. The structure was enormous, containing ecosystems from 100 worlds. They walked past enclosures holding creatures beyond imagination until they reached the deepest level. where a single massive chamber dominated the space. The Empress was already there, seated in an observation booth with her court. Her voice came through speakers. "The chamber will open shortly. Try not to die too quickly, Captain. I have placed bets on you lasting at least 5 minutes." James entered through the airlock. The chamber beyond was dimmed, lit only by strips of bioluminescence along the floor. He could hear breathing, deep and resonant, coming from somewhere in the shadows. His hand instinctively went to his hip, but they had taken his weapons. He had only himself. "Hello," he said quietly, keeping his voice calm. "I know you are afraid." The breathing stopped. Then, from the darkness, it emerged. The Ravager was massive, easily 3 times his size, its body covered in midnight blue scales that seemed to absorb light. The bioluminescent patterns the reports mentioned flickered across its hide in waves of purple and green. 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows, fixed upon him with predatory focus. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing those crystalline teeth. James did not run. He did not shout or make sudden movements. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to sit cross-legged on the floor, making himself smaller, less threatening. He kept his eyes on the creature, but softened his gaze, avoiding the direct stare that predators interpreted as challenge. "You are far from home," he said softly, "trapped in this place. They tried to force you to submit, did they not? Tried to break you with pain and fear." The Ravager moved closer, its claws clicking against the metal floor. James could smell it now, like ozone and copper. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but he remained still. "I had a dog once," James continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "Found her in the ruins after the Miami bombardment. She had been someone's pet before the attack, but the trauma made her wild. She bit anyone who came near. The shelter wanted to put her down, said she was too damaged." The creature was directly in front of him now, so close he could feel the heat radiating from its body. Its breath washed over him, and he fought to keep his breathing steady. "I sat with her every day for 3 months. Just sat. Sometimes I talked, sometimes I was silent. I never forced her to do anything. I let her decide when she was ready." One of the Ravager's clawed limbs reached out slowly, almost tentatively. James remained motionless as the claw, each talon as long as his forearm, came to rest mere inches from his face. "Her name was Luna," he said, and despite everything, he smiled at the memory. "She never fully lost her fear, but she learned to trust. That is all I ask of you. Not submission. Just trust." The Ravager made a sound, low and resonant, that vibrated through James's chest. It was not the snarl he expected. It was almost questioning. In the observation booth, the Empress had risen from her seat, her 4 hands pressed against the glass. "What is he doing?" she whispered. James slowly raised his hand, palm up, fingers relaxed. He moved with glacial patience, giving the Ravager every opportunity to retreat or attack. The creature watched his hand rise, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to deeper blues. When his hand was level with the Ravager's massive head, James stopped. He waited. The silence stretched for an eternity. Then, with a movement so gentle, it seemed impossible for something so deadly, the Ravager lowered its head and pressed it against James's palm. The scales were surprisingly warm, textured like rough leather. James felt the creature's pulse beneath his fingers, rapid but steady. He kept his touch light, respectful. "Good," he whispered. "Very good." The observation booth erupted in chaos. Nobles shouted over each other, while advisors frantically checked readings. Empress Thalia stood frozen, her expression unreadable. James spent the next hour simply sitting with the Ravager, occasionally speaking, sometimes silent. The creature gradually relaxed, its aggressive posture softening. Eventually, it curled its massive body around him, much like a cat might, and closed its eyes. When the airlock finally opened and James emerged, he found the entire Valerian court waiting. The Empress approached him slowly, her earlier amusement replaced by something deeper. Respect, perhaps, or wonder. How? She asked simply. James looked back at the Ravager, now watching him through the transparent wall with what he could only describe as longing. You treated it as a monster to be conquered. I treated it as a being to be understood. On Earth, we learned long ago that the strongest bonds are not forged through domination, but through trust. Thalia was silent for a long moment. Then she extended one of her hands in the human gesture of agreement. A deal is a deal. The Valerian system is yours. Though I suspect this will change much between our peoples. I hope so, Your Majesty, James replied, taking her hand. Though I have one request. Name it. The Ravager comes with us. It deserves better than a cage, and I think we can find it a home. The Empress looked at the creature, then back at James, and for the first time, she smiled with genuine warmth. Perhaps you humans are exactly what this galaxy needs. Very well. Take your new friend and your new worlds, Captain. We will be watching your species with great interest. As James left the menagerie, he glanced back one final time at the Ravager. Tomorrow, they would begin the process of relocation. Tonight, he would inform his crew that they were no longer simple explorers, but pioneers of humanity's first true interstellar territory. All because he understood what the ancient Valerians had forgotten, that strength without compassion was mere brutality, and that the mark